Making Stitcher, and today I wanted to talk to you about what I pack for cross stitch retreats. Now, next week I will be going to the annual SteelCityStitchers retreat in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and this will be my fourth retreat total. So last year was my first ever retreat, and I went to 3 total last year. And when I started going to cross stitch retreats, I had no idea what to pack. So I created a list on my phone of things that I found out would be helpful to have or things I wish I had. So today, as I'm starting to lay out my things to go to Pittsburgh, I thought I would share with you what is on my list of things to pack for cross stitch retreats besides the obvious stuff. Now, for this purpose, the obvious things are going to be your cross stitch, your patterns, your floss, your kits, whatever you're going to stitch on. So of course you're going to bring that because it's a cross stitch retreat. So there are some things though that I found very helpful to have, or things that I wish I had later. So without further ado, let's jump in. So one of the first things you're going to want to have is a bag. I have this nice big bag from the Black Needle Society, but you can have whatever you want because it is helpful to carry your things from your hotel room down to the retreat space. It is helpful, obviously, to pack. Most of the things on this list will work regardless of whether or not you are flying or driving. But I have a travel bag all ready to go so I can add things to it. But here are the things that I've learned to just keep in my travel bag. So first thing, travel bag. Second thing you're going to want to make sure you have is a light. Now, I have this OT light I just bought from Joann's, and it is rechargeable, so that way I don't have to worry about whether or not there's an extra plug near my table. So this will work very well to keep my space lit. So having a good lamp is always important because you can never tell the lighting that's going to be in your retreat space. So that is in my bag. The other thing that I keep in my bag is a little travel bag with some basic notions. So that way I don't have to gather them from my stitchy spot. So I will make sure that I have things like an Ort jar. And I have a second one just to be safe. An Ort jar with a top is helpful. You want to make sure you always have extra scissors. You want to have things like extra needles, extra needle minders. A magnet for that time that you can almost guarantee that you will lose a needle under the table. And I was surprised that I found having a tape measure was helpful, because if I decide to start a new project or I need to figure out how big of a piece I need, I couldn't tell you how many times at the 3 retreats I went to, somebody needed a tape measure for something. So this was very, very helpful to have. So I keep all of these in my little bag. And as I get ready to pack more, I'm going to add in things like a highlighter, some colored pencils to mark my patterns. I'm going to stick those in there now. What else do I have? I also include in, I believe I have it in here, I include a pen. Because you never know when you're going to need to mark a pattern, sign a card, exchange contact information with all of your new besties around your table or at the retreat. So having an extra pen is always, always handy. So that's actually, again, going into my bag right now. And so this zips up for easy transport, and so things don't get lost in the bottom of my big stitching bag. Now in here I also have a case full of notions. So I have my notions case that I keep separate from my stitching corner, so this stays in my travel bag. And in there is things like a seam ripper, things like a pin, because inevitably when you get chatting at a cross stitch retreat while you're stitching, you make a mistake, and so the frog will visit you. Trust me, if the frog has never visited you at a cross-stitch retreat, have you really retreated? And also, I learned that these little mascara brushes work great, again, when you're frogging things out. Also, a needle threader and a pair of tweezers are also very helpful. So these, again, stay in my stitching bag all the time. So as I continue to pack, you're going to want to make sure you also have a hoop. Seems like something that's obvious, but I couldn't tell you how many times I've gone to a stitching event. And actually, I just did this yesterday. I went to go stitch with my friends. I packed everything but a hoop. So thankfully somebody had an extra one. So it's always good to toss an extra hoop in your bag that just stays there because you never know. Let's see, what else am I going to throw in my stitching bag right now? You're definitely going to want some pain reliever. Absolutely, you're going to get a headache. Your back is going to hurt like heck after a while. So having some pain reliever, Tylenol, aspirin, I carry Aleve because that's what works for me. But, you know, after sitting at these hotel ballroom chairs for 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day, your back's going to hurt, your head's going to hurt, you're going to want a pain reliever. And another thing you're definitely going to want to make sure you have is a portable charger bank. Because again, you can never guarantee what is the charging situation going to be like at your table. Every retreat I went to last year, thankfully, had power to every table, but oftentimes it might be one power strip. And so when you have 6 to 8 stitchers sharing one power strip at one table, and everybody has their phone chargers, their lamp chargers, their just charger for your tablet, anything that you're going to need a charger for, everybody's fighting for the same space. So having a portable charger on hand will help alleviate charger congestion. So that's going to be going into my bag as well. Another thing that I'm going to put in my bag is a clipboard. Because especially for those of you who stitch off paper patterns, you're going to want something to clip your pattern to. And I have seen people that have like these little magnetic boards with little stands that you can sit there and put your pattern up in front of you like this. But I just tend to have a clipboard because I don't use paper patterns much. But just in case I get one, start one, always toss a clipboard or some sort of a pattern holder for paper patterns into your stitching bag. So I've done that. All right, some other things. So I'm going to move this to the side. So now I'm getting into some things that I had wished I had thought about. And some things I did think about, but you may not always think about it first. You're going to want a water bottle and a coffee mug of your own, because you can never guarantee that the hotel is going to have something for your coffee. Now, every retreat that I went to had at least something for water. So having your own water bottle is definitely helpful because you're going to want to stay hydrated. You don't realize while stitching how much you don't drink as much as you used to. Same thing, having a coffee mug. You're going to want coffee because every stitching retreat I've been to, there has been a late night stitching some way, shape, or form because we get together with our friends. We can't stop talking. So definitely you're going to be off your sleeps game. Having your own coffee mug and your own water bottle will definitely help you for sure. And make sure they have a top on them. That's the big thing is some retreats let you have food and drink at the retreat table. Some are very, very, because you don't want to get anybody's stuff messed up. So if you have, at the very least, a water bottle with a top on it, it'll help alleviate spills. Coffee mug, I would still tend to keep my coffee away from the stitching table personally because I can make a mess and I don't want to ruin anything. But if you do bring your coffee or your tea to the stitching table, again, make sure it has a good, sturdy lid. So make sure you have those. Some other things that I learned, this is after my first retreat, I learned that sitting in one of those hotel ballroom chairs for hours on end is not comfortable. And so one of the things that you can bring, you have to check with the retreat that you're going to, is if you are driving and you have the ability to bring your own folding like camp chair. I did not bring one to Steel City last year because I didn't think I could. But when I went to StitchCon, tons of people brought them because again, those hotel chairs are not comfortable. So check with the retreat that you're going to see if they will allow you to bring a folding chair or a camp chair of some sort just to be more comfortable. But in the chance that they don't, here are some things that you should bring. Number 1, bring a chair pad. Because again, after a while, those seats get uncomfortable. So having a seating cushion definitely will help make you more comfortable. And the other thing that I've started to bring is I bring a small pillow for my back. So I can sit there and change my back. I will often bring down a pillow from my hotel room to alleviate, so if I need something bigger. But at the very least, I always have my small pillow with me to help adjust my back. And then something that I did not think about until I saw somebody else do it is, again, having a footrest. So I went out and I bought this little folding stool. It is packs up easily, lays in a suitcase, can lay in my stitching bag. And I use this not because I need a step stool to climb on something, but this will function as a portable footstool for those times when you just need to stretch your legs and the people beside you get kind of weird about you just putting your feet on their chair when you're trying to get comfortable stitching. So having a folding step stool helps as a footrest underneath your table, or if you turn and just want to stretch out. And this was an idea, again, things you never would have thought of that you needed to bring to a cross-stitching retreat. So this has definitely been a life changer. And then that stitching room, you cannot guarantee the climate that's in there. So dress in layers. I always have something comfy. So definitely, a long sleeve shirt, t-shirts are great. Comfy clothes, absolutely. But in case the room gets too cold, I have learned I just toss in this lightweight blanket. It's big, it is comfortable, and it is a very thin blanket, so it's not like a heavy, oh look, stitching. I've got my stitching. So this has been my retreat blanket to every retreat I've gone to last year, and I would go around wearing it like a cape some days just because I would get so chilled. And if that isn't enough, let me reach over here. You're going to want to bring like a sweater. So this is my sweater that I tend to bring to wear over something. So again, if I get too cold, I have something to put on whatever layers you need. But definitely in the stitching room, you're going to want to dress in layers because some retreats the air conditioner has worked really, really well. And sometimes it hasn't worked at all. So then the last thing that I have with me right now to pack is my giveaway bag. So I'm not giving away this bag, but most retreats will have a stash unload table. I know Steel City doesn't have something specifically, although a lot of stitchers bring stuff to share with their table mates. So this is my bag, whereas throughout the year, if I've been cleaning out my stash, anything that I realize I'm not going to use or things that I'm no longer going to stitch go in here. And so that way I have a bag I could just quickly grab so I can pass the bag around to say, hey guys, I have some patterns here that I'm not going to stitch. Do you want them? And then in return, when you get stuff from the stash unload table, you have a bag to carry them home in. So definitely, this is a good time to clean out your stash and pass it along and trade it with somebody else. So just, again, check with the retreat itself to find out what their parameters are, because some retreats don't want to deal with all the excess left over. So you just bring your stuff and you share kind of amongst your table and then take your own stuff home. And some retreats have like big, massive tables that you just come and you just pick through and people come dump it. You pick through it again. So each retreat's different. So that's the stuff that I currently have with me. So if I'm looking at my list, let's see. Another thing, when you're thinking about what projects to bring, one of the things I learned last year was that there's a couple of unspoken traditions. First of all, bring a project that you are close to finishing, because every retreat I've been to has like a finisher's bell. So when you finish a project at the retreat, you go up, you ring the bell, you hold up your project, everybody claps and cheers. It's a really great feeling. So if you have a project that you are very close to a finish on, bring that to the retreat so you can have a retreat finish. Another thing is that a lot of people will have a new start at a retreat. Just a tradition, so make sure you have everything you need, so your fabric, your floss, everything you need for a new start at the retreat. And some people will start the retreat piece there. Some people, because most retreats have their own like retreat piece, and other people, whatever. So my retreat start at Steel City this year is going to be the Extraordinary Bird Sale from Lola Crow, because part one releases the first day of the retreat. So I can imagine me and several other stitchers in that room will all be starting that project during that weekend. Um, Another thing you want to make sure you don't forget is your own medication, because that is something that is easy to forget to toss in a bag or forget you have. And so if you have personal medications, please make sure that they are one of the first things that go into your suitcase or stitching bag, so you're not rushing around trying to find a refill in an unfamiliar city. Ask me how I know that. So another thing that I bring with me is I usually bring my own personal pillow and my weighted blanket, but that's things that I use not in the retreat room, but in the hotel room. I like my own pillow, I like my own blanket. So think of things that you would want to bring, not just for the stitching room, but for your own space. Again, if you're driving, you have a little bit more flexibility in what you bring. If you're flying, you might not be able to bring these things. But these are things to consider when packing for the retreat, is that you might want your own pillow. You might want a specific blanket. You might want a specific thing in the room, whatever. Um, and another thing to bring, speaking of power strips, so I know earlier I talked about how every retreat I've been to, there's been power at every table. I cannot guarantee that that's going to be the case at every retreat you go to. And even if there's power to every table, there might be one small power strip for 8 people around a table. That's kind of what happened to us at not Steel City, but StitchCon. There were, I believe, 8 people around a table, and they had like just one basic power strip, which was honestly not enough, because most stitchers had their own phone charger, their own tablet charger, their own lamp that might be plugged in. So bringing an extra power strip, if you're able to, a power tower power strip, something that gives you extra plugs in addition to bringing your power bank or a lamp that does not plug in, that will help, and you can share with everybody. See, I've talked about that. Yep. Another thing that I actually added to this list, after my third retreat last year, is I wish I had brought my heating pad. Because again, at the end of the day, some of us are getting up there in age where sitting in those uncomfortable hotel chairs and leaning over like this, stitching for 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 hours, you're going to hurt. So if you have a heating pad, toss that in your suitcase. I have a big one that plugs in and actually can be like my chair backing if I want to. But whatever you have, bring something that you can put on whatever aches at the end of the day. And another thing to go along with that is bringing a swimsuit. Because when I went to StitchCon, I did not bring my swimsuit. And the hotel that I was at had an indoor pool. And I wish upon wish that I had the ability at the end of the day to jump in, sit in the hot tub, maybe swim a couple laps to just stretch out after sitting there. So bringing a swimsuit actually, just gives you that ability to have another way to take care of your body after sitting at a retreat. So let's see, what else is here? Also, a lot of people like to make table gifts and giveaways for the entire retreat. It is not required, but a lot of times people like to make little things or put together little gift boxes for people at their table. So just make sure if you're going to do that, don't forget to pack them. So have those, and any giveaways that you're going to give to everybody at the retreat. Just whatever you're going to do, that is something else to pack. Another thing to bring is a brag table item. So some retreats may not have this, some retreats do, so check ahead. But we all have those projects that we are insanely proud of that we finished. They can be fully finished, they can just be finished but not framed. But a lot of times a retreat will have a brag table that you can put your piece at, and you have a card that you can say your name, what the pattern is, like whatever details, and then everybody goes around and goes, ooh, I love that. And it's just a great conversation starter, and it's great to see a lot of different pieces finished that you might have had your eye on. So make sure if you have the ability to bring something to the brag table, bring it. Show off your stuff. And as I'm looking at my list, kind of doing one last look on my list, I have it on my phone. If you are interested in a copy of my list, comment down below with your email and I will email you the list that I have. So that's everything that I've talked about here, but I do have it listed on a Apple Note. So with that, I hope that helps anybody who's going to a retreat for the first time think about things to pack that you might not normally have packed. If I have missed something, if there's something that is your retreat essential, something that you cannot live without a retreat, at a retreat that I did not mention, drop it in the comment below because there's lots of things I haven't thought of. So I can add that to my list and we can share ideas. So anyhow, if you're on your way to your first retreat, enjoy because they are amazing. If you're on your way to your 100th retreat, awesome. I absolutely love going to cross stitch retreats now, and I cannot wait to go to see everybody at SteelCityStitchers in 10 days, I think. So with that, never forget, don't ever let anybody tell you how to stitch your stuff. You just go ahead and you stitch your own stitch. Have a wonderful day, everybody.